All right. And there it is. This guy. Okay. Now we get to go do a video. Hey everybody, Backpacker Luke here, and today we're going to be talking about why I switched to using backpacking quilts instead of using backpacking sleeping bags, and I will... Okay, never go back. Anyway, that's spooky. So we're going to go over 5 reasons why I choose a backpacking quilt over a standard kind of mummy-style sleeping bag when I go backpacking. There's 5 reasons, big reasons that I do it, and we're going to go over all of those really quickly here. So I have my list over here. The first one is that on average, quilts are lighter than sleeping bags. There's a number of reasons for this, and we'll get into that. But the first one is that quilts will never have zippers on them. So in this case, this one is a sewn in foot box. So I just sewed this in and created a foot box that's always there. You don't get to unzip it. Some people might find that kind of off-putting that you can't unzip it if you get kind of claustrophobic with your feet, but that is kind of the case with quilts. So sewn in foot box. And then some quilts will also have little tabs on each side here. And then they can kind of clip, and you can kind of clip it together so you can seal it pretty much if you want to, but there are no zippers. The reason for that is that zippers are heavier than just a couple of plastic clips, so you're saving weight on that. And the second reason is that, weight-wise, is that since you don't have as much fabric here on the back side, so this is actually the back side of the quilt, and then this is the front. So you don't have as much fabric on the back side, so you're just losing weight on the lack of fabric there. So when I've made this one myself, this quilt myself, so when you sew it to kind of flange out a little bit, so it kind of gets wider as it goes up. Because the point is, when you're inside of it and you're sleeping on top of it, you're sleeping like this, and then you tuck these guys in behind you. But that way you're not sleeping on top of any kind of insulation. You actually just have a bit of a gap here. Because when you're sleeping on top of insulation, it doesn't really do anything for you anyway, because you're compressing it and making it useless as you're sleeping, as your weight is on top of it and compressing that insulation. So you just kind of cut that out, and hopefully you're sleeping on top of a pad. But even if you're not, honestly, you're not getting much heat rating out of sleeping on top of your sleeping bag's insulation anyway, like a normal bag. So that's number 1. The second reason that I like using quilts over standard mummy style sleeping bags is that they're actually just easier to manage. So mummy style bags have the hood, which I don't really appreciate most of the time. Occasionally they are really helpful, but for the most part, I don't really need a hood when I'm sleeping. So you just have extra added weight there, and it's more difficult to manage. You also have all of these different like straps and toggles, and of course you have the zippers and all sorts of stuff. And this guy is just a lot more difficult to manage. Even these are both down bags, and even trying to just compress them and that sort of stuff is just a lot more difficult. To give you an idea, this guy right here is I made it to be a 0 degree bag, like 0 to 15 degree bag. This is a 21 degree bag, and this thing is a lot bigger than this guy. So this guy packs down a lot smaller and it's a lot easier to manage when you're on your trip than this guy, even though this guy gives you a lot more heat rating. So that's a really big reason. So reason number 3 is, we've already talked about it a little bit, but there is no compression of your insulation when you're sleeping in a mummy style bag. So just to show you again, sorry, I'm a little dry. Just to show you again, when you're sleeping inside of a mummy style bag, this whole backside is basically just compressed insulation, and it's not doing you any good. It's just adding weight for no reason, because you're not getting anything out of this insulation. So the only thing you get is the feeling of sense of like being wrapped in something, which maybe it's worth it for some of you, but it is not for me. It's just wasted insulation, wasted fabric, and wasted weight. So with the quilt, I already showed this once, but it kind of flanges out a little bit. So you can even tuck it in underneath you, and it creates pretty much the same thing, but you're cutting out all the weight of that fabric in the middle there. You don't need it. So that's reason number 3. Reason number 4, we've also already talked about. With the quilt, you have no zippers, anything like that. You basically just have, in this case, this one I made doesn't have anything on it. It's just a sewn in foot box, and then it's totally open. But some companies will add like little tabs here so you can kind of clip the quilt together and that sort of thing if you want to, but I didn't find that necessary. It added just like little bits of weight for something that I didn't really need, so I didn't include it when I made this one. So there's number 4. So this guy has no zippers or clips or anything, no bungee cords or straps. It's just really clean, really simple, saves weight, all that kind of stuff. And the last reason that I would actually recommend quilts is more like a fun reason, is that I actually really enjoy making these. So I actually taught myself how to sew just to make this quilt, and I was able to make it on the first try. It's not perfect or anything like that, but the joy of just being able to make a quilt and then use it on the trail over and over and over again, and know that like you're using something and it's keeping you warm and you made it. It's just a really fun feeling. So that is like the final reason that I would recommend quilts over sleeping bags, is simply just the joy of being able to make one if you want to. Final thing we wanted to say is that this Kelty bag weighs 2 pounds 9 ounces for a 21 degree rating. And this quilt is actually a 0 to like 15 degree bag, and it weighs 3 pounds 2 ounces. So the weight value is actually a lot better for this guy than the other one. So you get a lot more heat rating value for the weight that you are carrying with you on the trail. And if that's not a reason to get a quilt, then I don't know what is. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this and that it was useful for you. If you do enjoy this kind of content, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that kind of stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.